is the Podgram.
You see, you're on fire today.
Sitting here in the dark, I realized I didn't turn the lights on.
The Podgram with Tom and Christy.
It's sad that this is the world that we live in.
Here, let me stop and tie my shoe right in front of you so you can't drive.
The Podgram.
All of a sudden, I hear...
Well, I don't really care.
Join the conversation. 855-PODGRAM.
You bust your ass.
Yeah.
The Podgram with Tom and Christy starts now.
Welcome to the show this morning as we broadcast live to you as we do each and every weekday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. And also you can catch us on TuneIn anytime 24/7 because all of our previous shows are there. So we certainly appreciate you hanging out with us. Want to give you the phone number. It's 855-PODGRAM if you want to chime in with anything we're talking about. Or, you know what, you can BYOT. You can bring your own topic. Right now, though, I want to say hello to our good friend Christy. Good morning to you. What a transformation that you pulled off in the time that I turned your camera, turned away from you to start the show with the with the opening title roll, and now,
Thank you.
It's like a different person sitting in the chair right there. You know.
Well, you act like I was a gargoyle before.
Well, no, but no, not at all. I mean, I didn't mean it that way at all. But it's funny because, it looks like in the 30 seconds, in the 60 seconds that I was not able to see you, it looks like you left the chair, took a shower, went to the store, changed your clothes, came back, did your hair, put the earrings, all that stuff in like 60 seconds.
Well,
you, my friend, are badass. That's all I got to say about that. How are you?
I'm having a rough morning.
Yeah.
And I'll it's tough because like I sat down in the chair and I was in like a kind of mood.
You had the look on your face as if somebody died the first time I saw you.
I did. And then, because you are an amazing friend as well as like a coworker kind of thing. Like I kind of talked through it with you for like a quick minute and I feel extraordinarily better. And I know that like that conversation will continue post show, which is great.
It will, because we only scratched we didn't even get through the clear code on that. Yeah.
We totally did. And the awesome thing is that I know for the next 58 minutes I get the joy of doing this because this really is a love for me.
If you ever wonder,
like I get to hear that entrance music and it's like a jolt. It's like a 5-hour energy getting injected. It's so cool.
If you ever wonder why we do this, it's really therapy for the two of us, and we just let you guys watch. It's just really, that's what it is.
Totally is. I mean, even if we didn't have people watching, we would probably still do it. Well, I mean, we do, even though nobody watches.
Yeah. Right. Nobody watches half the time, and that's good. It's all right. It's all right. So yesterday I spent the afternoon outside messing around with B2.
Okay.
And as you may or may not know, B2 is the new van that I picked up that was a former taxi cab.
Yes.
Almost gave myself heat stroke. I decided yesterday that all of the remnants of the taxi cab graphics had to come off. And then after doing that, I decided, well, it needs to be washed and waxed now. And then after doing that, I decided it needed to be vacuumed and the interior needed to be, cleaned up because it was pretty nasty inside. And so I almost gave myself, and it wasn't really all that hot out yesterday. It was, it was the upper 70s, low 80s, but I just about gave myself heat stroke out there. And here's the end result right here. This is the B2 van.
Nice work.
Yeah, and we can look at different angles here. We can look at the inside, fairly decent, So there it is.
Very nice.
That's the B2 right there. And let me find look at the mileage on that bad boy. You see the mileage there?
You can come do my car.
Well, because
it's been filled.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm going to recuperate from that one for a while. And then the other thing is, I got to get Melanie's van taken care of before her paper tag expires, and that's a whole nother story. That's a whole other topic, and it's one that nobody probably really cares about. So,
so is B2 operational?
B2 is operational. It needs a catalytic converter, so it won't pass inspection. But I've ordered the catalytic converter, and once that's put on, It'll be, yeah. It'll be beautiful.
Hold on.
It'll be gorgeous. What, do you got a phone call?
Yes, dear.
Okay, we'll pull you out of the mix here for a second. While I go over here and check out the live show feed so that I can see the chat. Because, I want to see the chat. Okay, hold on a second. I've got you turned down. Now you turn you back.
Hang on.
Okay.
Why do you need to call me back?
Oh, you're still doing your phone. It's okay. Okay, so one is watching now. I guess that would be me. So, hi, me. Woo. Yay. Are you talking to me now? Okay, let me turn you back up. I didn't know if you were off your phone call yet or not.
No, because I warned him that the next time he called me during the show, we were going to call him back.
This is Phil?
Uh-huh.
Now, okay. I consider Phil to be a fairly intelligent being.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But somehow, his favorite time to call you is 9:06.
Uh-huh.
And we've been doing this now for how long?
Uh-huh.
Now, giving the benefit of the doubt that there was the 15 months we didn't do it because of the storm and because the studio's down. But we've been back at it for, a couple of days now.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Quite a while. And, it's only like I talk about it endlessly off air. And it's not like my kids don't talk about it off air. And it's not like my friends don't talk about it off air.
It's not like this is, the show thing? I'm sorry, I forgot. It's not like nobody knows anything about it.
It's not like my daughter and I don't send him selfies of ourselves getting ready for the show.
Right.
Every morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good times. Good times.
Do you have his number or should I text it to you?
Well, I don't have it. Do you seriously want me to? You seriously want me to call him?
Do you? Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right.
Do you have your cell phone on you?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Choose that. Put spaces in between if you don't mind.
I will absolutely because I don't want to blast his phone number out over.
We don't want to call that girl back. That we called the other day. Toy. Hello. You know what drives me crazy? People who have a gender neutral name, and when you talk to them on the phone, you're not really sure who you're talking to.
Hold on.
Because all it takes is one, that's cool, dude, and now somebody's offended.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like Alex or.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or Sue.
Leslie. In the South, there's a lot of Leslies.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a lot of them.
Now, does he know we're calling him or no?
Oh, I told him I'd call him right back.
Okay. All right. Well, then in that case, you go ahead and talk for a minute while I handle this business over here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I did do a little bit of a 360 because I had that look of, that whilst I'm driving, demonic look from hell. And then all of a sudden I was like,
yeah. All right. Here he is. I'm going to let you handle this.
Hello, this is Phil.
hi, honey.
Hey.
What time is it?
Hey, princess.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I warned you the next time you called at 9:06.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Phil joining us on the phone today. How's it going, bro?
It's cool.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Working hard?
Uh-huh.
Not at the moment. I'm gold bricking on the phone. Woo! All right. Sorry.
He can't talk long because he is at his desk and his boss is in the giant cubicle right behind him.
With one eye looking out the door. Hey, buddy.
Uh-huh.
So, are you going to start wearing your watch to work?
I hate you right now, by the way.
Damn it.
But I love you.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man. Have a great day, man. I hope it's a productive and big money-making day for you.
I'll see you at home.
Yes, dear. Bye.
Have a good day. Love you, princess. Oh. That's too funny.
I'm so dead. That just made my day all better.
Oh, and look. Well, I got a call coming now. Who could this possibly be calling on the podgram this morning? Let's take a look and see. You're on the podgram.
领事馆通知，您有一封加急公文未领取，
That's what I was thinking.
影响您的权益。
啊，
如需查询，请按2，22由专人为您说明。
Today on the podgram, we learned to speak Mandarin.
领事馆通知，您有一封加急公文未领取，
That means,
可能影响您的居留权益。
let me translate. Bite my ass. That's what that means. I have no idea what that was. I got no clue. Thanks for calling, though. I appreciate that. We're
That is hilarious.
an English-speaking program. I thought it was Phil calling back because it was
Chrissy
so close.
Chrissy just texted and said, "What? I'm listening."
That's funny because, yeah, it was right after Phil called, and it was a New York City phone number.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I knew it wasn't Chrissy Finn. Good morning, Chrissy Finn.
Good morning, Chrissy.
I had some texting fun with Chrissy Finn last night.
Did you?
We were van talking. She's my she's my van partner now.
I got to drive the Finnavan.
Oh no.
I was the DD.
I see. Well, that's a good thing to be. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, in addition to calling Phil, learning Mandarin, and whatever else we talked about, what do we got today? Because I got to tell you, I got nothing. I don't think, but you know how I am.
You don't think.
Things come along in a kind of a strange way as things progress and unfold. So I'm going to defer to you to get started.
Today, I got a story out of Detroit.
Yeah.
Where we have an EMT who took too long to get to a dying baby.
Yeah.
And goes to prison.
Let me sidestep for a second before we get there. And that's certainly something we want to talk about. But let me get there in just a second, because now, see, like I said, as things unfold, you know these millennials that want 15 an hour for shaking the fries?
Yeah.
Do you know that at most fire departments across the country, now 70% of firefighters are volunteers and get paid nothing. They still have to go through hours and hours and hours and hours each year of training and classes. They have to do bloodborne pathogens. That's a 3-hour course that basically says if it's wet and sticky and it's not yours, don't touch it.
Yep.
Yeah. They have Con Ed, continuing education, as EMTs, paramedics, or medical responders. They have Con Ed once a month. They have to. It's mandatory. They have to do it. Firefighters have Con Ed.
Physicals once a year. They have. And not just go to the doctor. You're all good. We're talking physical fitness physicals. Like you have to be able to, pick up a rope and do this and do that. And you have to be able to perform to a certain level or you don't pass.
Then there's the agility test where they strap a 250-pound dummy across your back with your fire gear on, 100 pounds of fire gear, and you have to go run up the steps, through the thing, and back down the steps on the other side. Or they'll load you up with a 5-inch fire hose, and you have to, and I'm telling you right now, a 50-foot roll of 5-inch fire hose is not, it's hard enough to drag it off the truck. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. What you do when you're going to tie the hydrant is you pull enough off to wrap around the hydrant and use the hydrant, use it to pull the hose off as the truck drives away. Otherwise, the truck would just drive. But my point in all this is that there are tens of thousands of hours that these people go through in training and continuing education to be volunteers, not even making anything to start with, right? And then when they get a paid position at a department, a nighttime, a swing, a weekend paid position. Want to take a guess what they make on average?
$15 an hour.
$8 an hour.
Really?
$8 an hour as independent contractor laborers. It's not until you've done that and you've paid your dues and you've proven yourself to be way beyond worthy that you'll get a job at a real department where you'll make, yes, around $15 an hour. But as a volunteer moving into a paid, it's $8 an hour is what it is. On average, $8 an hour. Now, you tell me why some ass cracker who shakes fries needs to get paid more than those people.
Yeah.
And by the way, because they're independent contractors, they're not subject to the limitations of minimum wage, I don't think.
That's insane.
Yeah. So,
well,
that was my rant on that. So let's go back to the guy, the EMT, who took too long to respond. I'm going to use too long with my air quotes.
A former EMT is convicted of delaying a response to a Detroit home where an 8-month-old was having trouble breathing and later died. Told a judge she was innocent. Anne Marie Thomas was sentenced Thursday to 3 months in jail and 2 years probation for neglect of duty. I'm sorry. Yeah. I can't believe I'm sitting here facing these charges, Thomas told Judge Roberta Archer before she learned her sentence. I did nothing wrong, Your Honor. I did my job.
Yeah.
A jury convicted Thomas, who's 48, in February. Prosecutors said Thomas was parked less than a mile from the home where Anaya Wright Trussell was, but she was delayed in getting there when dispatchers put out a call for help. Another EMT eventually was sent out to help the child. The girl's family alleged the lawsuit told dispatch that she didn't want to be there, quote unquote, for 10 minutes doing CPR. You know how those families get. Wayne County prosecutor Matthew Penny told the judge Thursday that paramedics eventually revived Anaya, but sadly the baby passed away the next day.
Okay, so the EMT in question, the one who's been sentenced, the one who's going to jail, said over the open radio back to the dispatcher, I don't want to be there for 10 minutes doing CPR. You know how these people are. This is what you don't realize. The airwaves are public.
Yeah.
Anything you say, you're familiar with HIPAA.
Yes.
Okay. We, as first responders, the dispatchers are not allowed to give any personal identifying information over the air because it can be intercepted with a police scanner in theory, right? I mean, the new systems are harder to get into, but it's over the public air. And it's a HIPAA violation to talk about a patient over the two-way radio. Even when you have that patient in transport and you're going to the hospital in an ambulance, you can't tell the doctor anything that's at the hospital over the two-way radio because people could hear it and it could be a HIPAA violation. Now, all of this,
absolutely,
all of this bureaucracy and all of this crap is the healthcare system is suffering from it because it's taking more time. We know that, you know, when there's an emergency, time is of the essence. They call it the golden hour. And that information is vital to have ahead of time so the hospital can start preparing for things. But they're not allowed to talk about it on the over the open radio. Now, having said that, there are things that you can say over the open radio that are not illegal to say, like, I don't want to do CPR because you know how them peoples are. Okay. She
said she didn't want to be doing CPR for 10 minutes because you know how those people are.
Okay. So, but now here's the deal. When you talk on a public service frequency as a public service worker, when you're an EMT, a firefighter, a medical responder, and you press the button on your radio, that conversation is being recorded on tape back at the dispatch center.
Absolutely.
It may be recorded digitally now, but they used to use these great big reel-to-reel tapes, and every single second of every day is logged and recorded. And when you said something like that, that can then be subpoenaed in as evidence.
Absolutely.
This is why firefighters and emergency workers can't stand drones flying over their scenes, because it may capture something that could be used as evidence against them later if they do something wrong. Now, and bear in mind that 70% of these people who are out there doing everything, to giving of their life to try to help yours, are unpaid.
Yep.
They're doing it as a service to the community. Now, if you walk up to a scene and you do something trying to help that ultimately causes somebody's death, you're covered under the Good Samaritan Act.
Yep.
But people in the department are not covered by the Good Samaritan Act. And there was a story came out, Asheville, North Carolina. There was a trucker whose truck went over sideways, and the driver was pinned by his arm under this burning truck. He was alive. He could have survived if somebody would have come and cut his arm off. And he was begging people that were standing by to cut his arm off to free him. But nobody would get near him because they knew, okay, I cut the guy's arm off, I save his life, and then I get sued because I cut his arm off. And I've altered his quality of life. This is kind of the world we live in now.
Yeah.
Where people are afraid to even help people for the fear of the ramifications of assisting somebody.
Well, the medical examiner ruled the child's death a homicide with suffocation as the cause of death. Other injuries and bruises were found. When the judge said something really profound. She said, when we entrust EMS workers, individuals who have certain obligations to respond to emergency situations, we have an expectation that they are going to act in accordance with what they need to do to get there. This situation became very real with the death of this child.
Yes.
Because she died as a cause of suffocation. Had that EMS worker gotten there and swept out what was the cause of the obstruction, or at least have gotten an airway maybe started in another place, had she done everything that was in her ability or done her due diligence or done CPR, oh, heaven forbid, done CPR on that child and gotten enough oxygen to sustain that child?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, so there is a thing called negligence. And it is...
it's negligent homicide.
And it is a punishable offense when you're an emergency worker and you have done something that is negligent that caused injury to somebody else. And that's what happened here. So, yes, that paramedic, EMT, medical, whoever it was, whatever the certification, that person deserves to be punished because they blew off their duty. Now, even as a volunteer, they blew off their duty and it was negligent. And yes, you can be charged and convicted under that. Now
the child's mother, Janae Wright Trussell, pleaded guilty last year to voluntary manslaughter. She was sentenced to 8 to 15 years.
Wow.
For the death in conjunction with the death of the child.
I see.
But the EMT not getting there, she was sentenced as well.
From on the surface, it sounds almost like the EMT was held up in traffic by a demonstration, something, trying to get there. But then when you dig down into the story and you find out there's like, nah, I don't really feel like going over there because those people are ass crackers and you know how they are and I just don't want to mess with it. That is negligence. That changes the entire scope of the story.
It does.
And listen, if you want to be an EMT, a medical responder, a firefighter, a police officer, the community, you need to understand going in, it's not just about getting permission to put red lights on your car. It's actually a responsibility to serve the community. And the last part of it that is volunteer is when you sign your name on the entry form. After that, you are governed by a whole new set of rules and laws. Now, you can blow off and not go to if you're a volunteer and your pager goes off at 3 a.m, you can blow it off and not go to it as a volunteer. If you're at the fire station and the call goes off, you're obligated to go. Volunteer, paid, doesn't make any difference. And departments have in place for their volunteers, you have to meet a certain number of calls, a certain percentage of the calls every year. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we don't need you. You know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the last part of it that's volunteer is the part where you say, yeah, I want to do it. And at that point, the entire, ask yourself, why do I want to be involved in an organization like this? If your answer is anything other than to help the community or be part of the community or give back to the community, it's the wrong reason. Go find something else to do. Go get into like ham radio and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because people, even though 70% of America's first responders are volunteers, people expect when they dial 911, somebody better have their ass on the way. That's their taxpayers. They're taxpayers. They're paying for that service. The departments get money from the taxes. That's how these departments are supported. And by God, the taxpayers have a right to expect somebody's going to show up. I remember one time, Melanie asked me, 3 o'clock in the morning, I was getting up and running out the door, and she says, "Why can't somebody else do it?" I said, "You remember when your mom had a heart attack? The first one." And they showed up in the ambulance, and they transported her, and they got her to the hospital, and she lived. How would you feel right now? I'm one of those people. How would you feel if everybody that was on the scene that night said, I need more sleep. Forget it.
Let somebody else do it.
Let somebody else do it. And then nobody shows up. See?
Yeah.
You have to take that seriously. It's not like, gosh, even when our kids get into like a sporting team and then they decide halfway through they don't really want to do it. Nope. You made a commitment. You need to go follow through with it. And that's how we are as parents. We tell our children, no, you made the commitment. We bought the fancy baseball bat bag. We bought the uniform. Your ass is going to go play baseball.
Well, Andy didn't want to go to Girl Scouts last night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you're going. Well, no. And she loves Girl Scouts. She loves going.
So what was her?
And I said, you're going. Why not? I don't want to go. And I said, okay, then. I will have the neighbors. I said, I will have the neighbors watch you. You can go over next door. You can go in Lexi's room. You can lay down. No internet, no TV. You can sleep, and I'll come get you. And when I get home, you can go to bed.
Yeah.
What? And I said, or you can get your butt up, get your shoes on, and let's go to Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. And I said, well, I have to go. I'm co-leader.
Yeah. I made a commitment that I would be there. And if I'm not there, other people have to pick up the slack. Dad's
got Boy Scouts. Evan's going to Boy Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
You're not staying home alone.
Right.
So what's it going to be?
Jazz and the Gus. Get in the fring. We're going to ride.
Helga's waiting. Let's go.
But see, and that's the thing is like if it's a sporting team or emergency, people expect, and if you're not there to do your part, all it does is increases the load on other people. And it's really, you've made a commitment now. Just like the
she had a great time. Once she got there, she had a good time.
Sure.
And it was fine. But people don't realize that when you make a commitment, and that's kind of something else I want to talk about in the second half of the show. Because I can't believe we've almost blown off a whole half hour. But
I know. Well, let's grab this phone call. Well, you know what? We'll come back to the phone call in just a second. Let's hit this right here first.
The Podgram with Tom and Christy. Join the conversation. 855-PODGRAM.
28 minutes past the hour right now. We have almost blown the entire half of the show. It's just gone quickly. When we get passionate about stuff, things like that happen. Okay, let's run over to the phone right now. Hi, you're on the Podgram.
Good morning.
Oh, there's my van driving counterpart woman. Good morning, Chrissy.
Those pictures looked really good, by the way.
I staggered my way into the house after all of that yesterday because the first thing was, as I said, it used to be a taxi cab, and they peeled the decals off, but it left all the adhesive behind, and it just I thought the paint was screwed up on the thing because it had, it looked like there was places where the paint was missing. But it just turned out that there was like remnants of decal left behind. And I went out there, and a great way, if you ever have adhesive on something that you want to get it off, the best product to use is like Zippo lighter fluid.
Really?
Yeah, it takes it right off. You put it on, you wet the adhesive, and then you just come behind it with a rag and wipe it right off. And it's great. Now, having said that, this particular van, the graphics have been baked on in the sun, and it was going to take some effort. And so About 3/4 of the way through, I remembered I had this product called Goo Gone in the cabinet. But
I use that.
But I also remember that it didn't work very well. And when I worked in the sign shop, we used the lighter fluid to get other graphics off before applying new ones. And so here's what I figured out in the 11th hour. I'm already sweating. I'm already huffing like a dog, and I'm already, I stand up straight and I almost go over backwards. But then I thought, okay, maybe if I read the directions on the Goo Gone, and maybe I'm not doing it right. And of course, it's not wipe it on, spray it on, wipe it off. It's spray it on, let it sit for a few minutes, and then come back. Well, then it wasn't taking everything off. So what I the little customer loyalty cards that you get from the grocery store that you put on your keychain?
Mm-hmm.
Little plasticky things. Okay, so I took one of those after Goo Goning and just started scraping back and forth along the shape of the letters and then wiped it off, and it came off instantly. Spray the Goo Gone, wait 5 minutes, go back with the customer loyalty card, scrape it down. You don't want to use like anything metal because you'll scratch it, right?
Amazing what happens when you read the directions.
Well, it didn't say anything about scraping.
Don't even get me started on that stuff today.
Goo Gone or scraping?
No, the directions.
Reading the
directions.
Thereof.
Directions are for girls. But see, now I learned a very valuable lesson yesterday about directions, and but it worked. It worked, and it's now it looks pretty good. And I decided to wash it and wax it and vacuum it, and then I came inside and huffed like a dog. Me and the dogs laid on the air conditioner vent together and panted, and it was good.
Okay, you know how it's worldwide knowledge that guys won't ask for directions. Women say, we just do it right the first time. The directions are why. The lack of direction for men makes you all look stupid.
No, but see, that I don't mind asking for help.
I
if I don't
men.
know.
I'm not speaking badly about all men because Rick will ask for directions because I'm a bitch. I'll just bitch until he asks somebody. Or I'll ask myself.
See, I don't mind.
I'll just stop and ask.
I don't. I know when I'm lost, and I don't mind. Of course, now with the GPS, it's not that big of a thing. But
I make myself look stupid. Like when I stop to ask for directions when he and I are both in there, and I'll say, "Listen, you got to help me out here, dude. He just took over driving because I just got us so colossally lost that I swear to God, I feel like I just flew in on a tornado from Kansas.
Yeah.
Can you help me out here because he's trying to get me out of nowhere?
Right.
I will totally play the jerk.
That's what I tell my kids.
Even though it's him who just got us lost.
Right. See, now I don't have a problem.
I don't care.
I'm happy to ask somebody for help and directions, or if something's not working right. Hey, how do I do this? I'm happy to ask. I don't have that pride thing going on. I mean, I sometimes I feel like I'm kind of a know-it-all, but sometimes I know that I'm beat, and I can't do it myself.
Yep, that's me.
Yeah.
You have to know.
But anyway, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm done. Your turn.
I was going to say, first of all, when you tell somebody you're going to be in the live chat room, be there, because I'm sitting there all by myself.
Oh, see, I was on the YouTube thing. Okay, because nobody liked it. All right, so I
can't find chat on YouTube. I don't know where it is. I can't find it. So it's no big deal. I'm the only one in there. But
I'll go over there.
The other thing with the volunteers, people do expect us to show up.
Yes.
But each individual state, like New York is the worst. They're making it so hard to be a volunteer.
Yeah.
We're dwindling.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money involved in the training, and there's specific things you can do if you have this training, but don't touch that because you don't have the training yet.
Yeah.
Even if you've had it at your station.
Yes.
Because we do drill once a week.
Yep.
So you have to have these certifications or your whole department's going to go. We had one lawsuit that killed the fire department, our neighboring department.
Mm-hmm.
Killed it, took it right out.
Yep.
So what do they want?
Well, and this is something
what
that happened.
They want?
This is something that happened in the department that I was with. When I joined the fire department, it was a small rural one house. We had 5 trucks. It was a small department. And
that's how ours is.
And we all got our training. We did our training on Tuesday nights. We did our classes. We went to other stations to get classes and training. Sometimes we did what we did, to make it work out. But we were all volunteer at that. There was no paid staff at that point. And then they added daytime protection paid staff, and this was the $8 an hour thing that I talked about earlier. And those guys were there. Basically, it's you're going to be hanging out most of the day, whatever. Here's $8 an hour, buy you some lunch or something, pack of Chokes, whatever. And then what happened was the insurance ratings came out, and we collectively, with our department and 2 other departments and a rescue squad, decided that if we all merged into one great big super department, that the homeowners would benefit from it, because now you get one insurance rating when that station is a mutual aid station. But you get more points if you have multiple stations instead of using mutual aid, right? So we merged them all together. And of course, who was there saying it's a bad idea? Mogi was there saying it's a bad idea, because I've worked in corporate environments where one company has merged with another, and everybody says, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be good for everybody. And then it turns out to be good for nobody. And the only people that actually benefit from this merger are the homeowners, which is the most important thing. However, they started this program of having full-time firefighters that were paid in addition to the volunteers. And in so doing, and the chiefs started drawing paychecks that were a flat rate paycheck, regardless of how many hours they were there, whatever, whether they drew a salary, which was kind of extensive, considering our chief was also a paid chief at on another department. So he was paid by 2 departments.
We get that a lot here too.
Yeah.
We have we're not far from Fort Drum. We're a couple hours away.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys from our department worked up to administration.
Yeah.
In Fort Drum's fire department, and that is definitely a paid position.
Yeah.
And a lot of them retire and come back and put full time in with us.
Yeah.
Which is great. We have one guy who went to our 911 center, and he's awesome.
Yeah.
Because he knows. He was, at one point in time, he was the chief up there, and he stepped down as chief and was like assistant something.
Yeah.
But he didn't have to really do any, he had to oversee the fires rather than be in the building. So now he's assistant chief here. He's been chief here. He didn't want it. He says assistant chief is good enough. Believe it or not, you probably know this. For the little stations like ours, being a chief is a 24-hour job.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is.
Because, it doesn't matter what time of day or night it is. It doesn't matter if you're at work or not. It does not matter.
When the tones drop.
Take that very seriously.
Yeah, when the tones drop at 3 a.m, the chief is there. There's no...
Yeah, our chief would be everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Absolutely.
To the scene.
But now, so what happened was, once the department merged and they decided they were going to have a full-time paid day staff at all this, and then they were going to start staffing it at nighttime as well. Now, the original thing was, did they look to the volunteers to offer them paid positions? No. They used people from other paid departments that were as far away.
That's not cool.
Yeah, they were bringing people in that we had no idea who they were. We had no clue. They were driving. They were driving trucks that some of us weren't allowed to drive because we weren't checked off on them yet.
Yeah.
They just walk in the door and they can magically do whatever they want, and it's like, wow, this is, and they're paying them somewhere around $15.50 an hour, something like that. And they're paying these guys to work on their days off from the other departments. And they're bringing these people in, and then the volunteers just kind of slowly get shoved off to the side. And then they
stop showing up.
Then they stop showing up is exactly what happens. And so now, they have a really hard time with any of the volunteers over there. The only volunteers they really seem to have are ones who either are on the paid roster on their time off, or these young kids that join the department because it's what their older brother did, it's what their dad did, it's what they but they get it
gung-ho.
And they're gung-ho and they got nothing going on. They don't know anything about it.
They just want the blue light.
Other than, well, not in this state.
Yeah.
But they don't know anything about it other than that their family members or their uncle or somebody did it before them. And so they come in there and they have a hard time even with the concept of, hey, sweep the floor. Go sweep out the bays.
What do you mean wash the truck?
Yeah, what's a bay?
What do you mean?
Don't you know what my last name
What's a bay?
Don't you know who my dad is?
Right. And hey, we had some of that too.
So go sweep the floor.
We had some of that too. And then and the fun part of it was when you get one of these young kids that already thinks they know everything. And they're telling you've been there 10 years. You know what's going on in the department.
See, where I went to high school, we had a huge amount of, we had like groups. We had like little mini cliques of the firefighter kids. And then we had the fire fluff.
Yeah.
The girls who dated the guys who were in the volunteer fire department.
Yeah, I like it when they try to join because they want to do things with their man.
Well, the other thing
the only reason that they dated the guy who was in the volunteer fire department was so that they could wear their jacket.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now we had a guy who was really bad about, and he wasn't even really all that much of a firefighter, but we had a guy that was bad about bringing his girlfriend around, and then he would give her the code to get in the door. So he wouldn't even be there, and she would show up and just let herself into the building, and she'd walk around like Chiefette. She thought she was the deal. You know, well, so and so told me to come up here and make sure that you guys. Who the hell are you? Get the hell out of here!
And they will tell you that. Get the hell out of here.
You know, well,
I'll tell you what. I speak like a trucker. You guys know me when I'm off air. I drop the F-bomb every other word like it's a comma. Okay, so I'm not Little Miss Innocent when it comes to all that. I've ran the block a few times.
Right.
Okay. Knowing that, I was in the auxiliary, and I am an older member of my community. I'm almost 50, and a lot of the guys in there aren't even over 30 yet.
I know.
So they look at me, and they're like, oh, my gosh, an old lady is in here. What do we got to not swear and behave and do good things. Well, I turn around, and I just look at them and go, are you effing crazy? Do you honestly think I could get this into this department, knowing the people that I do? You think that I don't, swear? Now, keep in mind, there was probably about 6 F-bombs in that one sentence.
Right.
And their jaws hit the floor. And the first time I ever busted one of their balls in a sexual innuendo type thing, I thought they were going to die.
Yeah.
And I just turn around and look at them and go, are you serious? This is the fire department.
Yeah.
You have to know that things go on here. You wouldn't dream of being that way out in public as a crew.
Yeah.
But because it's a guys' club and I just happen to be one of the girls, doesn't mean I'm one of those little, don't swear, that's bad, you shouldn't swear in front of the children. Whatever.
She's not a shrinking violet.
No, Well, we texted.
Definitely not a wallflower type.
We texted last night about vans, and we're talking about our vans, and I was laughing the whole time because because of the way that she you were like, oh, the effing radio doesn't work, and I can't have I'm just like laughing. I'm thinking this is great. I love this girl. We had a guy. He was in high school, and he joined the department as a junior. And the first time that anybody tried to give him any training, he told them to go F theirself because he knew he knew more about fire departments than they've had hot meals. Because at one point his daddy was the chief of the department. So by extension, then he was the chief. I guess he thinks. And so
that doesn't work that way.
No, and so when the chief said to him, "Go check off that truck." Now, when I say check off a truck, you know what that means.
Yes.
Basically, you make sure everything's in there that's supposed to be in there, and it works like it's supposed to. If the chainsaw has gas, and there's gas for this and that and the other, and everything works.
It's very tedious.
Yeah, it's an inspection of the truck and make sure everything that's supposed to be there is there, so that you don't get out on the fire ground. It's like, well, wait a minute, where's that?
And in the right place.
Yes,
and
yes.
Seatbelts are fast, and air tanks are filled. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, blah blah. So,
it's grunt work.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean all the firefighters do it. They all do it.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Even me, who doesn't really do the fire part of it.
Yeah, I mean, in a paid department, every morning every shift the truck gets checked off. First thing.
We do it when we bring them back from a call.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, the chief told little boy, said, "Hey, listen, why don't you check off that brush truck?" Now, brush trucks, it's a pickup truck with a water thing on the back. It's not a complex piece of fire apparatus, if you will.
Not an engine, not a tanker.
Right. So, and he told him if he wanted it checked off, maybe he should do it himself. And so that's kind of where this now. So the chief says, "That's fine, get out." Well, then his mother came back up to the department and cried and threw a fit until they gave him another chance. Right. So this kid grew up getting everything his heart desired, because if somebody stepped on his little feelings,
his mom
his mommy would show up and raise hell until they. So one night they're out there playing basketball. We had those basketball goals that have the sand weight thing and the wheels. Yep. We had those in the bays, and we'd move the trucks out and play basketball at night sometimes. Anyway, he was up there just cussing like a sailor, just being Mr. Big Boy, and
smack talk.
Yeah, and then his mommy shows up. His mommy shows up with Chinese food for him. Oh, here's the Chinese food for you. Oh, thank you, Mommy. I love you so much. And then as soon as she walked out the door, bitch, I'll kick her ass. just totally talking smack about her. Yeah. And
especially to all these guys. Oh my God.
Right. And he's like, oh, what a bitch. I'll kick her ass. She better give me, she knows her place. Bring me Chinese food at the fire station. And he treated her like this. So then I got into selling two-way radios because a lot of the firefighters wanted their own radio, and the chief approved some people to have them. Not all, but some people who he felt would be responsible. And he came to me and he said, listen, you need to get permission from me before you can sell a radio to any of our members. And I said, well, legally I can't because there's no law against owning it, and I can't not sell somebody something. Well, make it so it won't transmit. Okay, again, I can't. It's not legal.
Yeah.
It's perfectly legal for you to own a two-way radio that will transmit on the fire frequency. It only becomes a problem when you start doing it and you're not authorized.
Yes.
And that really comes down to, and so I ended up just stopping selling just because it was getting to be a problem. And so he wanted one. A little big boy wanted one, and he came to me and says, yeah, I want to get, and the radio he wanted to buy was about $700.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, but they're expensive to start with.
They're not cheap.
No.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
No.
Yeah. So he gives me a credit card with his mom's name on it. And I said, I need her permission. I need to know that she's okay with this transit. He says, this is my credit card. It's got my mom's name on it, but this is how I get my allowances on this card. And I said,
too bad.
look, I got to have Mommy's permission or I can't do it. All right, fine. Then he stormed out of there and came back. His mother called me. Yeah, it's fine. We can do that. Yeah, he can do what he wants, blah, 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 blah. So what I did was, in this particular radio, it had the ability, and the function is called stun or kill. I had a radio that I could transmit on that frequency. If he's listening to the fire department frequency, I can transmit my radio and hit a code and shut his radio down, making it useless. So I programmed it, all the radios. I programmed all the radios that I sold that way, so that if they were becoming ass crackers, I could just shut their radios down remotely. And of course, each person got a different code. So I didn't just do it once and everybody's radio shut down. But the only way, and I also password protected the programming part of the radio. So if you had to have a password, even as a dealer, to go in and reprogram it and reflash it and get rid of that. So the only way for him to get his radio unlocked was to come to me and say, look, I was an ass cracker. I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. Can you please unlock my radio? Well, he didn't have that kind of humility. He wasn't about to do it.
Right.
And I ended up having to shut him down. And he came back and, he's like, hey, you owe me blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't owe you nothing. I'll unlock it for you, but you're going to be a little nicer, And, now when I joined the department, I'm jumping all around here, but when I joined the department, I was in a wheelchair. And I talked to the chief for about 4 hours that day, and he said, yep, there's a place for everybody in the department. And for a long time, I was communications officer because that's what I did. Then I started driving trucks and blah, 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 whatever. So I was up there one day, and he was, little big boy, was up there. I don't know what he was ranting about, something else. But he looked at me and goes, why don't you go sell a radio or take a ride in a wheelchair? I'm like, dude.
Who the hell is this guy?
Well,
he would have been done.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, and he was done so many times, but then Mommy came back. Oh, you just got to let him back in. It's just, you just don't understand. His daddy was the chief, and he's lost his father, and blah, 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 blah.
Don't care.
He didn't lose his father. They got divorced, and his father moved away. That's what happened. And it's not like Daddy died in a fire in the line of duty or anything like that. It's just that he, but this kid was spoiled and got everything he ever wanted. And if he didn't get what he wanted, he'd go cry to his mother, and then his mother would go and she was one of those people, you'd give her whatever she wanted to shut her up and get her to move along.
No, somebody had to grow some balls there.
Yeah. And so he said that to me. And I stepped up in his face and I said, I'll knock you on your ass. I don't know what you think you know about me, but you certainly need a slice of humble pie.
Yep.
And I got in his face, and he started twitching. I said, because to me, you're nothing but a 7th grade little piece of crap. I don't care how old you are now. You never grew past the 7th grade. That's my problem with you. You're disrespectful to your chiefs, to everybody else. He ended up getting kicked off the department, and he was gone for a while, but then he came back, and they let him back in.
Mm-hmm. Idiot.
Yeah. So
at that point, it's their own damn fault.
I couldn't be part of that anymore. It wasn't specifically him that changed me about the department. It was a lot of stuff. It was the fact that the volunteers got shuffled to the back burner because now there's the almighty paid guys from the other departments. And, when it got to the point where when you show up for fire training on Tuesday nights, you felt like an outsider in your own house. And I just, it's like, you know what, you guys completely, look, it's good for the homeowner. You got paid protection. You got people here that know what they're doing. You don't have volunteers to deal with. But the problem is at 3 o'clock in the morning, when there's a fully involved structure fire down the street, nobody shows up because you shoved everybody to the side. Now now you've made them feel like second-class citizens, and so it's really kind of your own fault that nobody shows up. So I left after 10 years, and the politics is what kind of shoved me out the door. And most of the volunteers that were there when I was there, when it was just a small department, they're all gone. They're all gone. Everyone.
Yeah. You see that happening a lot, especially in the little ones. They're very cliquey.
Yeah.
I am not a native Remsen citizen.
Right.
I come from somewhere else. I've been here over 30 years.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
I was not born here, which, for the most part, people are fine with me. I do a lot of volunteer work other than the fire department. And so a lot of different people know me from different levels of financial and social status.
Sure.
So I'm friends with a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
But you get those few. I walk in there, and the first thing they did was roll their eyes.
Yeah.
I was on the auxiliary for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
7 years. Mm-hmm. And the auxiliary kind of went poof. So I'm like, now what? So I decided to join the fire department. I wanted to still do this. I was in fire departments all my life. I can't stop now.
And there's a place for everyone in the fire department, regardless of who you are, where you come from, what your level of ability. There is a place for everybody. And not everybody has to go storm the fire. Not everybody has to run the lines in the house. Not everybody has to, there is a job for everybody on the fire ground. And I think a lot of these smaller departments that become bigger departments lose sight of that, and they forget about that.
Yeah. Now, see, I don't do fires anymore. I don't do them anymore. I take care of the back room, which we rent it out like a hall. That is my job. I take care of that. The other thing I do is direct traffic on fire police.
There you go.
I am no longer a regular grunt because I'm old and I'm technically disabled, and they don't want me to get hurt, so they don't let me carry anything or do all that stuff. Is fine?
Is that what fire police is, directing traffic?
Oh, there's more than that, but it's basically what we do at a normal call. We can get called in from the police. Yeah. And shut a road down, or the DOT and shut a road down.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. I mean, we have to, big car accident. Boom. Okay, it's in the middle of a 12-lane highway. It's blocking the whole road. You got to go down to the nearest turn. Yeah. And direct them that way. But you got to talk to the DOT. You got to talk to the cops. Yeah. And then you got to shut the road down. You got to have the signage. All this stuff. So there is more to it. Yeah, I mean, but I guess the reason I was asking... The reason I was asking is because we do all that too, but we don't have a fire police here. We don't. That's not a term that we use in our departments in the South. I think it's primarily a northern term. But we do the directing traffic. We close roads down. We bring apparatus cones. Direct people off, get them out of the way. But that's just part of the firefighter. We don't have a specific title for that particular part of the gig, and that's why I was wondering what exactly a fire police person does. We have a guy. He is over 80. He's been in the department since he was a junior, and he is a fire police. He is our in-charge guy because he knows a lot of stuff. I see. So he'll go to the scene, and he'll say, okay, you do this, you do that. And if he doesn't have enough fire police there, you have to take firemen, just plain the fire guys. Yeah. You have to take them because you have to direct traffic first and foremost. Yeah. Well, you got to keep your guys safe. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, yes.
But we do landing zones. We do, we do.
Yeah, we do that too.
And I love Duke University and UNC are two of the life flight people that we call on. They're the two biggest hospitals in the state, and they have their own chopper force. And now Wake Med's getting involved in it because they're a pretty big organ. But anyway, I love. Sometimes they use military pilots to fly the helicopters because Fort Bragg, the largest military installation on the East Coast, is over here. And sometimes those guys are the ones who fly the choppers, the medical choppers. And you can tell when it's them because they'll come in there, boom, and just set it right down. It's done.
Laser guided.
Yeah,
I mean,
just, boom.
Well,
they don't.
since you're talking about this, I just want to do a quick shout out to Mercy Flight because they are our people and they are awesome.
That's
and they fly in almost any weather.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
you got that in. Okay.
You get a civilian pilot. You get a civilian pilot, and they'll circle like a vulture for like 30 minutes looking for a place. And now we've already marked the LZ. We've already marked the landing zone.
Yeah.
With lights and beacons, and they're still flying around. It's like, well, there's a power line there, and they're taking, and they're calling, the power company. Okay, but you get a military pilot. It could be, it be snowing, sleeting, hurricane, tornado, brrr, boom, it's on the ground. Get them in. All right. Brrr,
Yeah,
boom,
they'll come and land on my deck without even pausing.
Yeah, they don't care. Matter of fact,
Yep.
I'll just hover it a foot off the ground if we're in a water rescue. Yep.
We'll
just, or whatever. They don't care. They'll just come in there. They'll dump the thing on the ground, and then they'll take off, and they're there. Boom, 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 and they're off. But the civilian pilots, it takes them. They start lifting the chopper off. It gets a foot off the ground, then it's a foot and a half, and then it's wobbling.
Have you ever seen a bill for those choppers?
I can only imagine.
My brother was airlifted when he fell out of a lift.
Yeah.
17 feet onto the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a big boy. He was seriously hurt. And so they got this chopper, and they brought him to the hospital and whatever. Well, later on, he gets the bill. And just to start it, I mean, they itemized. So just to start it was $5,000.
Oh, yeah.
Just to start it.
Yeah.
The whole thing was $52,000.
Oh, yeah.
$52,000. And who do they think pays for that?
An insurance company.
I guess they had to have.
And if you
it was a.
And if you don't have
got
insurance,
knocked out of the lift. Well, he has insurance, but the guy who was driving the Mack truck that hit the lift.
Yeah.
Right at the time. Oh, this is crazy. He was hooked to one side. He took off his thing to hold him up there. What is that?
Scaffolding.
Got the big D ring on it.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, he went to put it on the other side, and right at that moment is when that truck hit.
Wow.
And he went flying.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
Wow.
He's permanently screwed up now.
Yeah.
But $52,000 for that ride.
Wow.
I hope it was fun. He goes, honestly, I don't remember a lot of it. But he goes, I do know that the woman who was with me was holding my hand, and she was very nice. Because he's a big boy. He said there's not a whole lot of room, and he's claustrophobic like me.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. It was pretty freaky.
Yeah, but I like to see them fly mash chopper style, over there when they come and do that. That's because
I do, too. And you see them fly over all the time over here. They fly a lot over.
They just get their business done. It's like, flying a helicopter is no big deal. To them, it's like, it's like making a peanut butter sandwich. I mean, let's just get it done, and let's finish it.
Some of them shoot so low over here, I could probably give them a high five on their way.
Oh, yeah, they're trimming the trees as they go by. Yeah.
Yep.
Mowing the lawn, no big deal.
Trimming the hedges.
No, he's not mowing the lawn. Rick will be mowing the lawn, and they kind of blow all the grass away, so he doesn't have to go around and clean it up.
Right. They fly so low, they trim all the hedges into Mickey Mouse shapes with the,
That would be impressive.
That would make Tammy's day.
Yeah. So that's, I remember one time.
That's funny.
I remember one time. As I'm running short on time, I hope I have time to tell this. I cut my finger with a knife in the department, and I lopped it down to the bone. It was pretty bad. And
okay.
This is the same night as bloodborne pathogens, by the way. And so my
awesome!
Yeah.
We just did that.
Yeah. So my assistant chief jumps on me, grabs my finger with his hand to stop the bleeding. I'm like, dude, we just got back from bloodborne. What are you doing? Put a glove on, And so I said, listen, man, so he's going to take me to the hospital. And I said, man, I really want a helicopter. He goes, well, I mean, that's fine, but you'll have to direct traffic till we get him in. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun.
And then you got to pay the bill.
Yeah, well, no, workman's comp because it happened at the fire station. So
Okay, yeah.
That was back in the old days when it was a small department and everybody had a great time, and we'd stay up there till 4 o'clock in the morning after the meeting to just hang out and just be friends with people. All right, ladies, hang on. That's our show for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. See you later.
The Podgram, copyright 2018, Big Tower Media. So don't be stealing our stuff.